candidates, I would ask if you could, I get it that it'll be hard, that your door knocking points, policy points, try not to make them those answers, because we would really like the opportunity to be able to meet you as people. There's very little for rules. Obviously, a respectful and human interaction is expected. And we're not going to try to get any gotcha moments. There's not going to be, what's your favorite color and why is it blue? Nothing like that. I think there should be enough interaction that it should be a fun evening just the same. And candidates, as strange as it may seem, I'm encouraging you to speak with one another as you're going through this as well. And or me, if you want. And focus the answers on the question at hand. Be as direct, relevant, and to the point as you can be. If you don't have an answer to the question, or if you don't want to, if you don't want to, do us a favor, tell us why. It'll be interesting to know. Anyone else? I'm given a quote here from a Stanislav Lem that there are no answers, just choices. And I think that's really imperative when you're thinking about people in public office. They don't have the answers, but they make choices, and they make choices on your behalf. So this is the essence of what it is that we're trying to get out of everybody here tonight. So tonight we will have introductions. I'll ask a bunch of questions that are going to be fun, and we'll get through. Thank you for all the people who have written questions. That was the other bit too, that on the way in, there are cards on the table. If you do have a question, please write it on that, bring it up to me, or have someone bring it up to me, and if it can work into the flow, we'll certainly use it. And, I like the fact that we've got trustees up here, because it reminds me of when we were little and in a gym. So this applies to the audience here. So you're encouraged to focus, sit still, don't fidget, and only ask smart questions. So, the introductions. Candidates, I would like you to, just get my stopwatch going, introduce yourself, give us a little bit of background about yourselves, and a special quality that you bring to the position and your motivation for seeking office. And I'm going to try to, for the flow, ask you to just go back and forth with the mic. If you don't want to answer, we got to come back. Well, we're going to work on that. But so I will get this thing fired up. Check. Sounds pretty good.
Thanks, Pete. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Kourtney Penner. I'm currently the incumbent here in Ward 11. And so a little bit about me. I moved here with my family when I was 4, and so have been living in various neighborhoods, mostly centered in Ward 11. So I had the pleasure of going to junior high and high school in Ward 11, and now I am raising my family in Ward 11. My family, my mom and her husband still live in the ward as well, and so we basically drive around Ward 11 all the time, whether it's activities that my kids are at, or going to school, or just the frequent restaurants. My biggest motivator for running again is actually the people that I've got to meet over the last 4 years. I've realized that council is one small cog in the machine that is our giant city. And some of the decisions that council makes obviously affects people, but there are so many people, whether it is volunteers at community associations or your local dance teacher and troupe, people in the arts, people who are doing environmental and climate things. These are the people who are really driving our city forward, bringing the big ideas, and that's everything from the small business owners to the employees of those large companies. They are investing back into our city. And for me, meeting them and getting to know them and seeing their passion and love for the city that we all call home is my motivator to continue to build a future, both for them and for the generations to come.
I'm Alex Williams. I decided to run for council because I was born and raised here. I care about the city. I care about this area. I live right here in Acadia. I was one of the last kids to go through Kingsland Elementary before it got closed down. And then I went to Fairview Junior High in Beaverbrook, right behind us here. The biggest reason and motivator for me running for city council is I'm young, cities take a long time to build, and I figure if I have an idea of what kind of city I want to live in when I'm 80, I should probably start now. Everything that we see around us is choices. Everything, just like Keith mentioned, we make choices, we make decisions. The walls are this color because somebody decided that. The light bulbs are that bright because somebody decided that. And I'd like to make different choices for the future. What got us here won't get us there. And that's what I look forward to doing with all of you fine folks.
Good evening, my name is Tyzen Ario. I was born and raised here in Calgary, although I spent the first part of my post-university adult life living and teaching English in South Korea, where I also took my master's degree. So the reason I'm running is because I have two children aged 11 and 13 that are in the public school system. So I'm very concerned, of course, for their educational futures, especially in the run-up to their university years. Maybe it is because I have an East Asian background, and you'll probably hear something similar from my neighbor to the left, Pooja, my left. But because of that sort of Asian background, we really do have a strong concern about what goes on in the schools. We really want to make sure the quality of the education is as high as it can be, because we really do want to make sure that our school systems are helping to mold the leaders of tomorrow, the people with the skills and the abilities to become the next scientists and engineers and surgeons, these kind of people that will help propel the future and build a stronger Canada. And that's why I'm running for school board trustee.
Thank you, and first I would like to thank you for coming here and giving us the opportunity. I'm Pooja, I'm running for the school trustee for Ward 11 and 13. I live in Ward 13. As Tyzen, I'm a mom with 2 kids in CBE, and I know some of the challenges that families are facing, including class sizes and ensuring kids are feeling safe and supported and included. So my reason for running is I would like to have every child to have the opportunity and support and resources to thrive, not just in school, but in life and career as well. Just a little bit of background on me. Professionally, I work on funded projects where I work on sustainability, energy efficient buildings, and systemic barriers. And all of that requires teamwork, collaboration, listening, creative problem solving. So yeah, I bring that experience with me, and I think I will bring that to the board as well. Personally, I have studied and studied in various parts of the world. I've studied in India, France, US, and Canada, so I do bring that global perspective to education and different approaches to foundational skills, the importance of second language in building communication skills, and I would like to bring all of the insights and bring a fresh, balanced, collaborative voice to the board to ensure every student is successful.
Thanks, Pooja. Nancy Close. I live in Ward 11. My husband and I, we have 3 adult children that are all proud CBE graduates, and I have a granddaughter in grade 5 going to her local CBE neighborhood school. And for the first time ever, I've heard her say, "I love grade 5." And here we are in this challenging time, and hopefully we can get through it as quickly as possible and get back to what's so important for all of us. I would suggest that all Calgarians want excellence in their public schools, and that's my commitment, is that to ensure that every school, no matter where it is throughout anywhere in the city, whether it's Ward 11 or Ward 13, will meet the needs of students so that they can be successful. Those are values that I hold dearly. I care very passionately about the importance of public education and the importance of student success. And you've heard that from my colleagues here that are running as well. For me, student success contributes to community success. And I'm passionate about that. Anything that my decision making is based on those values. And I'm looking forward to being re-elected so that I can continue some of the good work that we've done in the last 4 years in not only advocating for increased funding, but also building schools that we really need in Ward 13. In Ward 11, I actually represent between 2 wards, 42 schools. And most of those schools are in Ward 11. And I think that I actually have 5 priorities, and I'm just looking at Keith, and I'm realizing here I am going to my speaking points. I'm gonna
10
stop.
seconds, Nancy.
I'm gonna stop talking and share that I'm excited to do this work. I have the time and the energy, and really looking forward to tonight's conversation. I think we'll learn a lot.
Just, you can keep that mic over there. Thanks, Nancy. So as you realize, these people are, we'll just pretend that they're all elected for the moment. The purpose is to represent the people. They are responsible to some very large corporations, and it's obviously imperative. The type of conversation is going to be the same. It's not different that you're a trustee or a councillor. You have a lot of responsibility. And with that, and actually if we can keep that kind of timing, I think everything will be nice and tight. The flow will go. This will be our introductions. I'm going to ask a series of questions. I'm hoping that some of these questions will answer some of the questions that I already have. But if I find that there's some that we can stitch into the flow, I'm going to do that. And then we'll have a lightning round, because it's more fun than a lightning round. And then we'll do an outro, a little bit of closing. So, I'll give you the gist, the area of thought, and then a question about. So, first one is, what a city is and what it ought to be. So what are neighborhoods, communities, cities, and how they work? And I'm going to cheat a little bit because I've stolen some of your information off of your website. So Alex, your website, accessible housing is coined. So in answering that, in your view, what's the best way for Calgary to reach its density goals? Somebody's asked this, a few people have asked this. And is it important? Everybody gets to answer this one. So Nancy, you're first.
Okay, I stopped listening to you because I thought, oh, I don't have to answer this question because it's about density. So can you ask me again just quickly?
Sure. What do you think is the best way for Calgary to reach its density goals, and is it important? And this pertains as schools are directly impacted as how density goes.
Okay, so I'm going to have to answer this question because unfortunately I do have a viewpoint from working in the mayor's office for over 10 years. So I do have some opinions on density and how that should try to fund the property taxes and make sure that our municipal government has the money that they need in order to meet citizens' needs. But I'm going to come at this a little differently. Windsor Park is such a great example of where density is probably a little bit too much. It's happened in too fast a way. But the great thing that happened in that neighborhood was we were able to reopen a school so that kids could walk to school. And so density does matter in the sense of, especially for Ward 11 communities, because I'm a strong believer in keeping schools open and for having kids being able to walk to school or bike or whatever. So from a I think I'm going to stop rambling. But to me, community is so important as far as a school is your community hub. We need the people in communities so that we can fill the schools.
Okay, I was not prepared for that question, so I'm gonna answer.
Perfect.
Well, when you look at it, like when you have communities, when you have people there, you have more people moving in. They all have kids, right? They all have to go to school. So planning, I think, is more important because if you don't plan well, then the structure that's already there will be impacted as well. One of the examples I'll give, it's Woodbine. Like Woodbine is an older community. There was school there. Kids were moving out. The capacity they were at, like just at par to kind of keep the school open. The population started changing. The demographics started changing. Now the Woodbine school is at capacity. So it's a good thing they kept the school open. But having that plan that, okay, if we are building more houses here, if we are having more people in this community, we need to plan for schools. Because those kids, those people they'll have to go somewhere. And so planning, I think planning is the way to go.
And me three, I wasn't really expecting this question. So what I would say is, just as a general rule, my personal philosophy is that as much as possible, the citizens of any given district and sub-district of any given city should have the most autonomy as possible over what affects their district. So basically, to my mind, to meet the densification challenge, it really is a matter of the city listening to the people in each ward and each community within each ward to see exactly how each community wishes to proceed. Maybe in one community it is a lot of infills, maybe in another community it's building upwards. Maybe in another community everyone really, really wants to just keep the character of the community exactly as is, and that should be respected too. It's entirely up to the voters, the citizens of the community.
Yeah, you framed the question in a way that I liked asking, what is a city? And a city is a collection of people who gather together for a variety of reasons. We've been doing that here, people, for thousands and thousands of years, right? We think about confluence down where the bow and the elbow meet. And we think about how this land has changed as people have come and decided to build homes and change and do what they will with the land. If anybody wants to learn a little bit about the history of Acadia, you can talk to Elizabeth after the show here. Yeah, I think it's important that we adapt, that we grow, that we do change, and that we do so in a way that makes communities better. And we've all talked about planning, we've talked about schools, we've talked about amenities. Making sure that our communities come with those amenities is critical, and that our communities change and adapt in a way that supports those amenities so that we don't have to close schools, so that we can keep our favorite restaurants open and our grocery stores open. And so it's a complicated question, and I think...
Do you recall the question?
Sorry?
Do you recall the question?
Yeah, you were
What's
asking...
the best way to reach the density goals?
Oh,
We'll
okay,
get to
well,
those comments in a
wow, we
minute.
really went on
Is
a
it
conversation.
important? Yeah, let's...
So the best way to reach the density goals, I don't know if there is a specific best way. I think there are a lot of different ways. And I think a lot about the opportunities we have on McLeod Trail to build super densely. But then we also see opportunities in our communities to change how we build our homes. So I don't know if there's a specific way. Sometimes you don't want to have just one way. You should give multiple options a try.
Thank you.
Thanks. So there's a couple things that we're doing already. So I think about local area plans. I think that we have a new Calgary plan coming, which is essentially the municipal development plan. And so that talks about, again, and identifying where growth and change can and should be happening in our cities. And so we do set these high-level strategic policy documents. And with that, those are indicators to who builds our city. And the people who build our city are developers. And developers are Calgarians, and they hire Calgarians, and they give back to Calgarians. So I think, sometimes we talk about density and developers as these two dirty words. And density, when we think about it, actually just means people, the number of people that are in any given area and the concentration of those people. And those people are neighbors. And people want to come to the neighborhoods of Ward 11 because they are safe. They are filled with good humans. They're close to schools. They're close to other amenities. And so they're desirable. And so, in many ways, the best way that we build our city is by opening our communities up and opening our hearts up to people who can do those things in our neighborhoods that I talked about in my intro, to be our sports coaches, to be our small business leaders, to be your volunteers on your community association. When we talk about density, it's really about the people, and it's really about people who want maybe a different kind of house than you have right now, but they want the choice of where they want to live. And not everyone wants to live in an apartment next to a transit station, and not everyone who wants a yard to mow. And so what are those things that we need to do in the middle? And so we have those mixes, and every neighborhood in Ward 11 is doing growth differently. And so even in Ward 11, there's so much choice. We have a community like Quarry Park, which for all intents and purposes is brand new. Or somewhere like Garrison Green, which was built out 10, 12-ish years ago, and has that mix of what a typical new community would look like, where you have rows and singles and semis and built-in low-income housing and dedicated low-income housing. And we've got a lot of that mix in Ward 11 already. So, I look at a community like Willow Park. You have individuals who are on the lowest end of the income spectrum, and you have individuals who have some of the highest net worth in the city. In one community in Ward 11, we have those mixes already, but we also have space. And I guess my ask is, do we have space in our hearts? Do we have space in our brains to say, these are people who want to come live in our cool, great, amenity-rich neighborhoods? And I hope the answer is yes.
Alex, you'll get a chance in this next question. So, having said that, thought about that, what are neighborhoods, communities, and cities? Everybody, I think, said communities up here, but that's what I thought I heard anyway. How should they work? Neighborhoods, communities, and cities, how should they work? You can pass and come back if you want.
I'm good. I think cities work different for everybody. There are people probably in this room who are really avid library users and people who probably haven't been to the library since they've been a kid. There are people who are using our pools and people who aren't. And so cities work when we have a collection of resources and assets and amenities that allow for us to find our both individual and community attributes that we value. So cities work when we can actually offer a spectrum and a range of services. There are people who are never going to take transit, and there are people who always take transit. And so cities work when we understand that we are a collective of individuals with different needs and preferences and values, but that we all need to somehow be harmoniously together. And so the city's role is to recognize, where we are all different, but then where are those places we can come together? Because ultimately, when we have things like libraries and rec centers and transit, those are places we come together in community. And so there's also the role of a city to facilitate where people can come together. So community associations are a great building. Community associations, probably if you don't know, there are associations here in Calgary and they're called leagues in Edmonton, but it is such a unique Alberta model. And I don't know that we fully tap into it. I don't know that we fully resource community associations in the way that we can and should be. And those are questions and curiosities I've been asking over the last 4 years, having come out of community association volunteerism. But so ultimately, the city is a conduit for gathering, for connection, for opportunity. And so for me, that's what a city is.
Yeah, cities and neighborhoods work best when they're working for, by, and with the people who live there, and that means being adaptive and adaptable. The needs of neighborhoods change. People come and go. Some neighborhoods might have more of a focus on, if an elderly population lives there or young school kids live there. That might be some way that they change. I had this conversation with Sarah Mayer, the CEO of the Calgary Public Library. And we were talking about how our public libraries can better serve communities. And there are a lot of different ways that they can adaptively do so. And there's a pilot program right now in the Northeast where they've noticed a lot of people need copying services from the library. And so they've opened up a small little space in a retail mall, in a little strip mall, that is mostly focused on doing photocopies for people so that they don't have to go as far to access that resource. And so when we create communities, when we create neighborhoods that are adaptive to the needs of the people who live there, that's how we create neighborhoods and ultimately a city that works for the people.
So I'm going to be pretty similar to everyone else up to this point, I think, in that I do believe that a city is, of course, a collection of people, all not only bound by the geography of the place where they live, but also ideally with some sort of community spirit where we're all striving towards the same goal of a better place in which to call home. And to this end, I think it's vital that every single community plays its part. Every single person, every single community does their best to make their own community a great place to live. And if everyone's community is a great place to live, then by extension, the entire city is a great place to live. So I just really like the idea of community spirit, everyone volunteering to help out in whatever way they can for the better good of all of us.
So Keith, is your question how neighborhoods, communities, and cities work together?
How should they work?
How should they work? Okay, so in my view, it's all about having local input. I think everyone said that is listening to the people living in the neighborhoods. The best example is the people in the neighborhood having a voice in their community associations. And those community associations will have a voice with the city, right? So it's you kind of connecting everyone from neighborhood to communities to cities and kind of listening to their needs, listening to what they're looking for, and kind of balancing different perspectives, because everyone will bring that different perspective. It's knowing how you balance those perspectives as well. So local input is how we can all work together.
I think the way I'm going to answer this question is because what grabs my heart the most is the concept of citizenship and how we connect with one another as people and how we talk to one another, how we disagree with one another, because that's okay. And I'll give an example of just door knocking and having tremendously civil conversations with people I disagree with. And it's important. It's important to be able to have people share, I'm concerned about this, and then have a very deep, thoughtful, meaningful conversation about what can we do to make it better? What do we need to do? How do we do it together? I think when I think of schools, one of the things that most is exciting for me is it's a bumping up place. It's a place to learn how to get along with others, how to disagree, how to build that citizenship, how to build leadership, how to know that we can each be engaged and should be engaged. And one of the concerns I have in looking at even neighborhoods or communities or our city is we've come to a place where we've lost our humanity. We've come to a place where we're polarized in some of our viewpoints, and we're not learning how to be able to have conversations where we disagree, and it's okay to disagree. And so to me, that's what building community is all about, and that's what citizenship is all about, and it's what we do in public schools and at the CBE each and every day.
The synergy is great. Great segue. The next topic is on citizen interaction. I have a number of questions out here, so I'm hoping that we can get some answers this way. There's a quote here: "The problem with market research is that people don't know how they feel, they don't say what they think, and they don't do what they say." Well, maybe I shouldn't say that in front of the elected. Just kidding. So Pooja, on your website you mentioned community engagement as something important. Are you elected? I'm going to ask the other question first. What are the most essential components in making your citizen interaction successful? As many as you wish, but essential components.
Listening. I think it has to start with listening. On my website, I do talk about the importance of meaningful engagement. When you have 42 schools and you can't get to every school council meeting, you need to find better ways to connect and hear the concerns from parents and from community members. And so I've been thinking quite a lot about how school boards typically broadcast information. They don't necessarily engage in conversations, and we need to find ways to ask questions of our communities. We need to be able to go to community association meetings and have those conversations and share the hopes and dreams of what Calgarians want in their public education system. So, but I would start with the most effective way is to start by listening. It brings, and to have an open mind to be curious and to know that you're going to learn something new just by having a dialogue.
That's exactly what I was going to say, is listening. Listening is the most important way to engage with the community. Just be part of school council, like find different ways of engaging with the community. It could be going to the school councils, it could be doing town halls, going to the community associations, going at different events. Every school has events. If you're allowed to go there. So yeah, just find different ways of meeting with people, meeting with parents, community members, students, high school students, and just listen. Because that's how you learn what the challenges and needs are.
I mean, it's kind of hard to argue with the sentiment. Obviously, it's very, very important that everyone has a chance to have their opinions heard. Everyone must be able to listen to viewpoints that both agree with him and maybe don't agree with him 100%. But the other thing I want to just dig a little bit is just discuss respect. So it's very important, I think, that everyone respects each other's opinions, but also each other's time. I see the floor.
I love that. Yeah, okay, so citizen engagement, I got that right. I'm not going to go off somewhere else, Keith?
Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, engagement is a big one, especially on the municipal level. These are things that impact us and affect us every single day. It's your sidewalks. It's every time you flush the toilet, turn on the tap, flip the lights on, take the bus. It's your everyday. And that's one of the reasons why I'm passionate about municipal government. I'm assuming everybody here seems similarly if you're here tonight. And so continuing that engagement that I've done over the course of this campaign, we've knocked over 16,000 doors, which has been awesome to have conversations with people, and like Nancy, being able to have conversations with people we disagree with, but we both care, right? We all care. And we've been able to have those conversations over the course of this campaign as well. And so something that I'd like to continue doing even after the election, in those few moments I'm afforded, is keep door knocking, keep having those conversations. We need to reach out to the people who aren't maybe as up and up as we are here tonight, who show up to events like this, who show up to engagements, who refresh the engagement page like I do on the city's website, so that we're reaching out to people who are affected by these decisions and impacted by these decisions, but maybe don't have the opportunity or the know-how or the skills or the energy or the time or the money, resources to actually show up. And so that's what I think about, is reaching out to everybody in our community as much as we can.
Thanks, Alex, for pointing out that we have again that spectrum in residents, and we have those who are hyper engaged. And I was that hyper engaged person for a very, very long time, and I think to some degree I still am. And we have those who are living their daily life. And right now, and we've seen it, right? All knocking doors. Someone is in the middle of making dinner, or holding their baby, or changing a diaper, or trying to get their dog out the door, just getting their dog to stop barking for a second, right? And they're in the midst of something else. And so most people are very busy. And I've seen it. I've seen almost like that shame of like, I'm so sorry, I don't know anything about politics. And it's like, that's okay. You don't need to know about that, because I'm still going to show up for you. Because there's other ways that you tell me, about the things that you need, right? And we see it in the way of like, how do people move about our city? How do people, make decisions on where to put their kids in school? There are lots of indicators, and there's also groups that are often advocating. So I think about renters. So I think of a group like Acorn, who advocates on behalf of renters, and who they use their collective energy to advocate behalf on a group of people who are quite literally, hand to mouth, probably living paycheck to paycheck, and they don't have that capital, that political capital to come out. And so part of, that listening is also making sure that we're identifying all the groups of people who also aren't coming to the table, and identifying who might be advocating on their behalf, so that we are getting all voices at the table. I would say one of the things actually that the city does really well when we do our citizen satisfaction surveys is we actually make sure that we have a true representative sample of the city, and that is including income, that is ethnicity, that is like where people live in the city. And so using really quality data to help inform our decisions also makes us really, really, good at our job. So we have something called like the equity index that the city uses. And so we know, I see Larry here, we know communities east of Deerfoot, right, score higher on that equity index. We have communities in Ward 11 that score higher on that equity index, and that just means that a variety of factors of need in those communities means that they might not have the capacity as humans to do things like rally together and build a new playground. And so where can the city, because of that data that we have, make informed decisions to make sure that all residents are getting a really great, livable city?
Awesome. Candidates, in lieu of time, let's keep the answers a little tighter for the remainder. So let's tweak this one up a tiny bit. Are you elected to do the best thing for your city, or what your constituents tell you they want? And this is absolutely applicable for trustees as well.
Yeah, so almost an identical question got asked at the Haysboro Forum, and what is good for the city is good for Ward 11, and what is good for Ward 11 is good for the city. Ultimately, we swear an oath to the city to do things for the city. And so we are sometimes struggling at balancing those bigger goals that we have as a city against sort of that community pressure to maybe stay a little bit more static. One of the things I really believe, though, is I believe people are capable of change. You know, none of us held a mini handheld computer 20 years ago, and look at us all now, right? You know, none of us, some people maybe, you know, lived here when we had streetcars, and now we have transit. Now we have an LRT system, and we are able to adapt and change to that. So we are adaptable as a species. Some of us have moved across the country. Some of us have, you know, learned probably other languages. We're incredible as a species.
Bring it back to the question, Court, please. Are you elected to do the best thing for your city, or what your constituents tell you they want?
Yeah, I'm getting there, Keith.
I'm just trying to keep it a little more succinct as time keeps on tripping into
All right.
the future.
All right.
Thank you.
So I would say that in our adaptability, the goals that we set as a city, that we have the ability to do them all together.
Thank you.
Yeah, the city is an ecosystem, and like Kourtney said, the oath is sworn to serve the city. But of course, it is an ecosystem, and so the way that different wards interact with each other, the needs of different people, different communities, where people decide to settle in the city as well. I guess I'll cede my time. He did a great job. I'm learning by example.
Thanks so much. So exactly, much as you just mentioned, the city is all an ecosystem, and every ward impacts every other ward. So now, having said that, while the board's decisions do actually affect the entire Calgary Board of Education, ultimately, I do believe that it is the job of the trustee of each individual pair of wards to represent their ward as best as they can on the Board of Trustees as a whole.
Yeah, so as a trustee, I think it's important to listen to the parents and communities of the ward that you represent, but students should come first. So that's what I say. If it's best for the kids, it's students first, and then do best you can to support the parents and communities on what they're saying. So keep it short.
Elected to make sure that the Calgary Board of Education is the best it can be for all Calgarians, but you have to balance that because you are elected, so you are also a representative. So you need to consider and know and understand what Calgarians in Wards 11 and 13, what their hopes and dreams are. And then you translate that to a conversation of what is best for the CBE and for all students. And yes, students come first. Learning is our central purpose. Public education serves the common good. Those are all values that drive the decision-making at the school board.
Quick ones. Relationship with administration is the next topic. So, Nancy, on yours, relationships matter. What is your role within administration?
I'm part of an elected school board that hires a chief superintendent and then monitors and reviews policies on student success. We only have one employee. So the relationship is based on making sure that we meet the needs of Calgary and families and students, and that we're addressing student success, and we hold our chief superintendent accountable for that.
Yeah, I would kind of like to echo that too. The relationship is, as a trustee, your goal is to set the directions, to hold them accountable, and advocate for strong public education. So my relationship would be, again, respect, listening, collaboration, but also be firm when it comes to accountability and responsibilities so that students succeed.
Very similarly, actually in my professional life, I do in fact oversee publicly funded nonprofits, and my actual job is in fact to make sure that they are delivering the results the taxpayers want from them, and being very responsible with the taxpayer dollar. So this is the exact same way that I would approach dealings with chief superintendent and the administration as a whole.
Yeah, City Council operates similarly. City Council has one employee, that is the Chief Administrative Officer of the City of Calgary. And they steer the ship. They set policy, they set the bylaws that the city abides by, and then the city is full of amazing people who wake up every single day like us and go to work and make this place a great place to live.
Yeah, so I have the fortunate position. I've developed a really strong, partnership with administration. And so while we have a CAO, ultimately we work with many departments on many different things. And whether that is our chief bylaw officer or whether that is the climate team, and it is a give and take relationship. And it is one built on respect and built on trust. And so when administration is bringing us their best professional advice, we of course need to evaluate that in the context of what that means for residents and what that means for citizens and what we are hearing from them and how that is going to impact them. And at the same time, we often are hearing things from residents, and then we are the ones dictating the kind of policy that we want administration to shape. And so it is that give and take relationship. And there are times that we advise. So I think of a strategy like Route Ahead. So that is our 10-year transit strategy. And so a few of us sat on that council advisory to talk about, how do we prioritize transit? What are the routes we want to do? What does this document need to say? I sat down with the team who does like naming and sponsorships. So there is always a give and take, and at the same time, I have, been in that fortunate position where they have come to me and said, we're thinking of a policy around this. What are your thoughts on it? But when you build that trusting relationship and when you're not vilifying them in public or around the council chambers, you get a whole bunch more done, because way more stuff gets done behind the scenes than ever gets done on the floor of council. So all the improvements that we see in Ward 11, that's because we build trust.
Trying to trim my program up a little bit so we can get out of the reason. Thank you, appreciate that. Interactions with colleagues will be the next topic. How should we expect you to act when you need to disagree with your colleagues?
Yeah, I appreciate this. Some of you might know, there's a few of us that have a moniker called the Hateful Eight. Think about any other board or committee that you would sit on, and if someone was calling the rest of the board names, how that would go over. So for me, the focus has always been on the policy. The focus has always been on, procedure, what we are trying to put forward and how we're trying to move forward as a city. And in no time and place, do you slander, name calling? Does it ever have a place? That's not how we move forward as a city. That's not what residents and citizens deserve. And respect, we need to show each other respect around the council chambers, because that's the only way it's going to be emulated in the public right now. Yeah. I think it's important that regardless of how we agree or disagree, that we're able to work together as people. Kourtney and I are running for the same job, but we treat each other kindly. We did a podcast earlier today where we had a great conversation about climate action. And like Nancy was saying, about meeting people on the doorstep with whom we disagree, and being able to engage in those conversations. It goes for the same at work. No matter what workplace we're in, being able to work with people with different perspectives and disagreements, and it's not always going to go our way, it's not always going to go their way, but we all care about this city and we all care about this place here in Ward 11. We care about our community. And that's why I think it's important to make sure that we continue having those great conversations. It's been nice, I've heard from other folks running in other wards that there's been more mudslinging. And I think here in Ward 11, we've been able to run a campaign on ideas. We've been able to have conversations and real serious conversations with people who disagree with us, and able to move forward because we know that we're all engaging in good faith, trying to make this city a better place. And I think the same thing goes when we're on council.
So I think of myself as a very utilitarian person at heart. So ultimately, what I want to see are the best outcomes we can get and the job being done right. So to that end, I have zero interest or time, frankly, for political mudslinging, political theater, any of these things. The key is focus on the job at hand, get the job done.
Okay, so first of all, I think the first thing is to acknowledge that we are all different, we are all unique, we all have our own perspective. So once you acknowledge that, then you know that there will be difference of opinions. That's fine. The other is listening, actively listening, not just listening, actively listening, and to see what their ideas are. And because ultimately they're there for students as well, right? They also want the best for the students for their success. To keep that in mind and then work collaboratively. Just, yeah, again, it's active listening, acknowledging respectfully, and then work collaboratively.
So Keith, this is where relationships matter, because on a school board, you are a board. And the difference between school board and city council politics is you actually create policy that directs the system. And in order to create policy, you have to have a diversity of thought. You have to sometimes disagree to get to the best answer. But then once you make a decision, you're actually directing the Calgary Board of Education around expectations around student results, around expectations around citizenship, on personal development, on character, and the parameters within which the administration works. So it's a nonpartisan role. It's creating policy and creating consensus and working together because it's important to serve students and to serve Calgarians.
Next topic, interaction with other levels of government. Tyzen, as part of your commitment, you are ensuring results. What is going to ensure results in your role? So the question, what is going to ensure results in your role?
Sharing information and sharing advocacy. One of the things that's really important about the role of a school board trustee is to make sure you're connecting not only with your city councillor at that level, but with each MLA in wards 11 and 13, and also the Minister of Education. So ironically, interestingly, fascinatingly, the province sets curriculum, they set the funding, they set the goals, and we need to work directly with them to advocate and share the local context of what Calgarians need so that we can meet the needs of students. So it's a role that's very outward facing and making sure that you're connecting with all orders of government. Probably where we have the least interaction is at the federal level, but would be an interesting thing to pursue.
So professionally, I do work on projects where I'm involved with different stakeholders, from government to academia to Indigenous communities, First Nations to associations. So I do work with lots of stakeholders at the same time. And I do develop resources, and I do work on funded projects where I do have to show the results. And the best way to ensure is to know what the needs are, what the challenges are. If you don't know it, you're not really addressing the root cause, you're not really working towards ensuring that it's having the best impact or you're getting the results. So it's first understanding it, and then once you have that understanding, then working on your strategies, your policies, and working with, as Nancy said, working with all forms of government to make sure that you are addressing those root causes, and that will ensure that you get results that we are looking for.
So yeah, as I mentioned before, I'm more of a results-oriented person by nature. So to my mind, the key is you do have to get all the consultation done. You need to make sure you listen to all stakeholders and every representative of each level of government to make sure that you get everyone's input and everyone's buy-in. Once you have all that put together, then you can much more easily and smoothly come to results. There is no space in my mind to get involved in like messy infighting. It's all about listening to everyone, getting the synthesis of their ideas, and proceeding forward on those lines.
Yeah, I mean, in a city of 1.6 million people, growing to 2 million soon enough, surely, it's important to build those relationships, to collaborate with other people, to work with other people, and make sure that we're engaging in good faith in those efforts. And then continue to engage with as many people as we can. We had a question about engagement earlier, and I think the best way to ensure results is that we engage with folks and bring them along and get their inputs in the things that we're working on.
Yeah, so in my experience, it's really about shared priorities. And so where you have shared priorities, you can make progress. And there's a number of different ways to do that. So I can give an example. You know, we have made Contemporary Calgary a civic partner. By making Contemporary Calgary a civic partner and them having a dedicated funding operating grant from the City of Calgary, it allowed the provincial government to come in and give them funding in order to do renovations on their building and to do some master planning. And so those are ways that we found like a synergy in order to be able to move forward. I'm actually drinking from my Alberta municipality's water bottle. And so one of the ways that I get to work with other orders of government is also with my peers and my colleagues from around this province to identify shared values across municipalities. And so we have Alberta municipalities, and we also have the Federation of Canadian Municipalities with whom I built relationships as well. I hosted them over Stampede and was able to bring, you know, individuals here from other parts of our country to see, you know, not only what Western hospitality was, but to talk about those shared priorities that we have as a city. So not only did we have a great time at Stampede, we talked about infrastructure, we talked about housing, we went and saw housing projects. So in order to be able to move forward, it's really what are those shared priorities where you can come together and have conversations, because there are going to be places where you're not going to. And so it's also about knowing where to put your time, your effort, and your energy.
You've answered most of the rest, at least yourself. Interactions with special interests is the next topic. Kourtney, you state that I'm connected with local organizations. What is their role, the special interest groups? And appreciating some of you, there's a very, very good work, everybody. I'm hoping that the candidates are getting at least generally your questions answered, and I think that, you know, they're going to be around afterwards. If there's something a little bit more precise that you'd like to get, that you can go at it then. But sorry, back to the question. What is the role of special interest organizations?
Okay, so I'm going to take special interest in the sense of like they have a community. And so I think of something like the Weaselhead Preservation Society or the Disabled Sailing Association of Alberta or the National Access Art Center. So I think when I think special interest, I think it's like they're centered around something really common that they're doing and building and doing something for our city. And so Ward 11 has a number of organizations, some of them sporting organizations, some of them kind of like social organizations. I've been working really hard with Inclusion Alberta around hiring for persons with disabilities. So I think like what this talks about is the complexity and the number of groups and organizations that any councillor talks to in any given week, month, year, day sometimes. And that there again are all of these different people who are looking for time and attention and resources from the city, and sometimes those resources are just knowledge. So how do you negotiate and navigate government relations with a city administration? How do you get funding? How do you get a new boat launch? These are all big conversations that we're having in Ward 11, and I think you just take them one by one. But ultimately, at the end of the day, one of the primary roles of councillor is actually just getting the right people to talk to each other. So I often don't have the answers. And so it's actually about connecting people together so that they can work forward on that path towards success.
And to add on to what we're talking about here with special interest groups, beyond people who have communities in specific locations and needs, we're also talking about the importance of having relationships with organizations that represent people and their needs. Last year, I co-founded Calgary Transit Riders, which represents transit riders in the city of Calgary. I know, it's right there in the name. And what we set out to do, and our aim, was to represent people who often don't have the time, don't have the energy, the resources, the know-how to go to city council and give council what for. And so actually be able to make sure that we're connected with these organizations, and there's a lot of them. There are lots on climate, there are groups for housing, there are groups for transit, specific transit projects like LRT on the Green, and engaging with these groups and making sure that we're connecting with them and hearing their needs, because we're just the individuals up here. We're not going to experience the city the same way that other people might experience the city. But it's important that we reach out and put that effort in.
So yeah, I take any form of special interest group as a form of stakeholder. So once again, it's important to hear what each one has to say and just balance out the needs with the resources available and with what the people in the ward generally want.
Yeah, I would like to agree that those special interest groups, they're also parents and communities, right? So they're also important. So it's important to listen to what they have to say, take it back to the board, and if it's in the best interest of the students, take it into account. But again, the priority is always the student's interest first. So.
Information is important. Informed decision making is even more important. We need to address student success. When I think of special interest groups, I think of groups like Inclusion Alberta or Canadian Parents for French, or they'll have their special interests and they can come and share that. But as a school board, you're making decisions based on what's best for student results. I just want to ask this.
You'll get a chance. The next topic is how you reach understanding and decision. So I love this, the synergy of this group. They're already answering the questions. What is one thing you know to be true that you think everyone else should know to make their lives better?
That they don't know everything.
I'll detour her. We don't know everything, but the main thing is to be open to learning, be curious, ask questions, so that you know that the next time someone asks you about that.
I tend to agree. Something I used to tell people: get busy learning or get busy dying.
Most people mean well. Most people care, and I've really seen that on the doors.
I would say it's never 100% yes or 100% no. It's always a sliding scale, and it just tips one way or the other most times.
Choices, right? Sorry, I'll try to be louder. When did you last change your mind about something important to you? Tell us about that. Stunned her twice tonight. Can you imagine?
Well, I'm trying to think about it in the context of knowing the whole person as opposed to just job specific. That's why. So I'm just.
Your mind. When did you last change your mind about something important to you?
Yeah, that's what I mean. I'm trying to think of something
Okay.
personal. Okay, I'm gonna just go like this. Whoever has it first, and then we'll all get there.
Do you have it?
This is a hot potato. No, somebody. Yay, Nancy.
I don't think I always change my mind, but I'm open to changing my mind. I can't think of something specific, other than perhaps yesterday I said to myself, why am I running again? But then I convinced myself that I care very deeply about public education and kids, and it's a passion of mine, and so I picked myself up, and here I am.
I'll say two. I wasn't sure if I was going to run because I thought about it when 4 years ago when elections happened. It's like maybe I do want to run, and then things started changing, and I kind of looked at the challenges again and see I do bring something different to the table. I do have a very different perspective, different experiences. So yeah, I made the decision like not too far long ago that I want to run for a trustee this time along. It's not an easy decision for me, but I think it's important, and so I made that decision. And as Nancy said, it's being open to change. As you probably know that I've studied and learned in different countries, that means I adapt quickly. I used to change countries every 2-3 years, so that's a lot of adapting to different cultures, different languages, to different perspectives. But be open to change.
See, it took me a while to think about because it's been a long time now. But when I was living in South Korea, basically I really loved the lifestyle there. I loved every aspect of being an English teacher. But eventually I got married, and then we started thinking about basically our future, having kids. And at that point, we started kind of looking at, well, do we want to raise kids in the South Korean milieu, or would it be better somewhere else? And so we decided in the end that Canada was a much better place because the South Korean system maybe goes a little too hard on the students. The suicide rate is very, very high there. So we decided at the end, like, let's just move back to my home country, not my wife's, and haven't looked back.
I'm glad we started down there. Gave some time to think. Yeah, something for me. I'll do someone. I'll do something very in character and talk about transit. So I used to be very, and I think a lot of people get a little bit mode obsessed, right? But I've realized it's really about people needing to get places. I used to be very on board with like, we need trams everywhere. We need trams on every single road, headed every direction. And I realized that's not the most efficient way to run a transit system. Buses are fantastic. And making sure beyond that, that we have modal options as well, whether you're walking, biking, driving, taking transit. All of these things are tools that can work for us at different times and different times in our lives and different days, depending on our needs. And so that's something, you know, I used to be a little bit more intense about that, but now I'm like, they're all tools and they all can be used for good.
Thanks. In the last 2 years, I feel like I've actually just had a lot of change thrust upon me. And so I think for me, it's just been the openness to like accepting what is to come and not knowing the certainty in the future. And that for me, that's the openness to it. And so when sometimes you don't make a choice about what comes your way, but you can make a choice on how you respond to it. You can decide, you know, if you're going to continue to like dig your heels in and push really hard, or you can decide if you're going to accept it with a degree of grace, with a degree of compassion, probably some anger. I might have, you know, but ultimately at the end of the day, knowing that the harder you, like pushing against it harder doesn't make the change different. It just makes it harder for you. And so in all of this like upheaval that I've had, and like I'm talking like personal life and even just like decision to run again and all of those complexities that just come with being a human, I think that what's changed my opinion is like the more I actually go with the flow, the better the things turn out in the long run.
I'm going to try to cut some of these out. Okay, there's a lot of questions regarding financial, so I'm going to leave a little more open-ended for the candidates to answer this one, but I'm going to read you something. In the Herald, MNP Quarterly Debt Index, 1/3 of Albertans reported eating less to save money for rent, for mortgages. 2/3 are using coupons, price matching, etc., etc. So the question would be, let's try to direct this one in terms of funding and resource. When you think about the future of this place, what keeps you up at night?
Yeah, food scarcity is a real challenge in our city. And, you know, as a parent with teenagers, and I think I've discovered that teenage girls can eat as much as teenage boys some days. I know the fortunate position that I'm in, but as we've been door knocking, I think we have seen that is not everybody's lived reality. And so food banks, while the purview of the provincial government, there are many food programs that the city is doing. So things that keep me up at night, things that keep me up at night is, does everybody know how bad it is out there for other people? Does everybody know, is everyone willing to extend the grace to understand that we all need to work together to support those individuals? And are people aware, and do people have the capacity to support and help because maybe they're hurt themselves? And so I think what keeps me up at night is actually, Nancy talked about it, like citizenship and this like care that we have for each other. So what keeps me up at night is that divide and that polarization and that kind of like every person for themselves, as opposed to like how does like a rising tide lifts all boats. That's what keeps me up at night.
Yeah, I want to expand on the needs of the community and the way that we interact as a community. And we're fortunate in Calgary to have this culture of volunteerism, this culture of people who show up when the going gets tough. and turn out for their neighbors. And we're also very fortunate, especially in Ward 11, to have much more walkable communities where we have access to the things that we need. I walk down the street and I see my neighbors and I chat with them and I pet their dog, and I sit on the bus and I see my neighbors, many of whom I don't know their names. I've never said a word to them, but they're my neighbor and we give each other a little bit of a nod when they get on. And so creating community spaces like that so that we can tackle these difficult issues, so that we can look out for people, just getting outside of our bubble a little bit and interacting with more people and people who have it in different circumstances, like Kourtney mentioned, people who have and people who have not. That's, I think, one of the critical things, especially as we get to the point with the internet the way that it is and AI and all of these things out there, I think what's especially important is that we go outside and we interact face to face with people in the real world.
Actually, yeah, especially watching my children as they grow up, I think Alex is onto something that does really concern me quite a bit too. Just the general proliferation of a lot of online resources, I think, has done a lot to cause people to get more into their own bubble, and basically a lot of people spend a lot of time in their own echo chambers, and I really do think this is starting to have a very divisive effect, especially in younger generations. So to my mind, what we need is to keep like the volunteer spirit that Calgary has. Calgary and Canada generally has been like the world leaders as far as volunteerism goes, and I really think we need to find more ways to basically make sure people are bring themselves together, like in the real world, and basically getting away from so much online interaction.
Okay, that's a tough question. So I've been part of several school councils throughout my kids' journey, and from kindergarten to grade 11. I've lived in different parts of the city and been in different schools and school councils. One thing that always comes up, and the principals also mention, and the school councils also mention, is kids are coming to offices to ask for food. The brown bagging, so the councils do programs to kind of support those families. We do programs where others donate food and like other things. Right? So what I guess my concern is, are we supporting those families and students? Are they feeling supported? Are they feeling safe to ask for help? Are they feeling that yes, they can ask and they will get that support that they need? What can we as trustee, if elected, as board, what can we do? How can we fund those programs? As I said, I've been to a lot of councils, and that's one thing that's always there, and that kind of breaks my heart. We also get emails from principals that if you can donate food, because we have lots of kids coming in to the office because they don't have food. So that is a real problem, that is a real challenge. And I'm glad those students, those families feel safe enough to come to the office and say we do need support or we are not able to. And then the councils are able to support, but are we as CPE or as provincial government or as federal government doing enough to support them, to make them feel supported?
What keeps me up at night is the complexity in our classrooms and the funding that we receive. Education dollars need to be used for education. And there is an opportunity going forward where, and this is a conversation that's already happening at the provincial government, but there's an opportunity to look at budgets from other ministries in order to support the kids we have in classrooms today. When it comes to food insecurity, it's a huge challenge. And it's a challenge that's in each of our schools. And brown bagging for kids for lunch is an incredible community agency that serves our schools really well. And schools are the place where it's the kids are there, so you want to be able to support community agencies in providing that service. But I don't support using education dollars to support food in schools. That is a community reaction. It's a community fundraising. It's a community responsibility. It's a provincial responsibility in many ways. But what keeps me up at right now is, well, we're also facing a strike, and we're experiencing that. And we don't have kids in school when they've also been at home for the most part during COVID. So there's lots of really systemic challenges that are facing institutions these days. And I think we need to change the conversation, but we need to keep students at the center of that conversation in order to come up with the solutions that we need. And I do have that experience from working in the mayor's office. I do have that experience from doing a year-long program with Bloomberg Harvard City Leadership on cross-sector collaboration. We just need to change the conversation so that we can meet the needs of students in our classrooms.
In light of the time and the fact that you really came in today, what I'm going to do is we're going to go into the lightning round.
Okay.
The lightning round is yes or no or single words. Can I get a nod from yes, no, or single words? Okay. Candidates should make all campaign contributions transparent in real time.
Yes, but I haven't.
Yes or
Same
no?
answer. Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
Difficult.
Yeah.
You can do it, Courtney.
I know. I'm like digging deep in the thesaurus in my head. Difficult.
Okay. Flames or Oilers?
Rude. No, flames, obviously.
Flames.
Flames.
I don't think anyone here will say Oilers. Flames.
Definitely Flames. If you follow me on Instagram, you know I go to hockey games.
Okay. Would you have voted for the arena deal? Yes or no?
No. And I'm a Flames.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Complicated.
Yes.
Drive through or walk in?
Walk in.
Walk in.
Walk in.
Walking.
Walk in.
So remember, single word answer. Biggest fundamental challenge the city is facing.
I got it. I'm walked in. I'm ready.
Connections.
It'll come back, but yeah, you can pass.
Efficiency.
Infrastructure.
Growth.
That was quick, Pooja. You're up.
Yeah, I will go with growth too.
Okay. Cost or value?
Value.
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 Absolutely value. Values. That's 3 words.
Is the city
I break the rules all the time, sorry.
is a city a living system?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Mitigate risk or run toward the future?
Oh, run towards the future.
Run towards the make the future. How about?
I'm mitigate risk guy.
Mitigate risk.
Oh, I like make the future. I'm going to steal that answer.
I'm going to morph this one just for me. Driver's license, right or privilege? You know me, Nancy.
It's a privilege.
Privilege.
Yeah, privilege.
Privilege.
My teen just got our learners. Privilege.
Yes or no? Climate emergency? Question mark.
Yes.
Yeah.
Question mark.
Yes.
Worldwide.
Tyzen, the mic comes back to you. Question mark. What do you mean? It was a yes
I
or no
mean-
question.
Because I feel the science is not settled and we really don't know what we don't know.
Okay, fair enough. Blanket zoning.
Needs some amendments.
Yes or no?
You said one word.
Okay, need
Okay.
some amendments is,
Amendments.
Amendments?
No.
No.
This is going to surprise you. I'm going to say no.
okay. Tastes great, less filling. Tastes great or less filling?
I don't understand.
It was a joke. Sorry. All right. A couple more questions and then we can get you to interact with the candidates. Jen, thank you for this. We would like to know, what accomplishment are you most proud of?
And I don't have to do it in one word.
No, lightning round zone.
So this doesn't really affect Ward 11, but for Ward 13, we need schools. And when I came back to school board governance, it was fascinating and disappointing all the same time that we had a system problem around building schools. So in 2021, I think there was 440 project submissions for new schools. The province approved 14. CBE got 1. It was a challenge. And it was a challenge that we had to work on ourselves of how we rank criteria to build new schools, but we had to change the conversation because we need schools where kids are. And where kids are in developing communities. So we had to really focus on what our ranking was. And I'm actually proud that I was able to change the conversation from almost at that time it was around school closures to addressing growth, which happened very rapidly, to addressing how we have a conversation of replacement schools in existing established communities, but how we build schools as quickly as possible. So we work very closely with the Minister of Education on how to change the conversation around debt and how to change the conversation of how to build schools now.
So I'll talk about the recent one that I'm kind of working on it professionally. I work on a project to support Indigenous communities and First Nations across Canada to build their houses to building codes. We are all used to having our housing built to building codes. Theirs are not. And my focus is also on the energy efficient houses. So in my conversations with them, in my stakeholder engagements with them, I learned about some of the challenges that they are facing, and one of them is training. Like, they don't have people who are aware of codes or who know what questions to ask. So as part of the project, we started developing resources, we started developing trainings, we started delivering those trainings to those communities. And it's nice to hear when they say because of trainings, they are looking to build their houses to codes. They are looking at ways how they can improve their housing situation, how they're looking at ways how they can make their houses more resilient, and also looking at ways how to educate more people and train more people so that they continue to build those houses to the codes. I mean, I was surprised when I learned that their houses are not built to the codes. Like some of the community, they say 95% of the houses are not built to the codes. Can you imagine that? Living in cities in Calgary? You can't. So I think that's what I would say has had the most impact on me recently. It's working with them and working on those projects.
Professionally, some years ago, I was the United Way campaign manager for 2 years running for my nonprofit organization. And the second year that I was the campaign manager, we ended up winning a Spirits of Gold award as the best workplace, best small workplace. I should note, nonprofits are not usually very big companies. So professionally, that was like the greatest highlight for me. But really, to me, my greatest accomplishment is my kids. they amaze me, and I hope that they'll continue to for years to come.
I'd say this campaign, we've knocked thousands and thousands of doors, had conversations with thousands of our neighbors, and it's been awesome to be able to chat with people about the issues that matter to them and talk to them about their very specific concerns that I might not have thought of. We don't live our lives in everybody else's shoes, and so that's why those conversations and being able to bring those along for this campaign, I'd say that's the proudest accomplishment.
I'm going to say a couple things around transit under the umbrella of transit. So the first is making transit free for kids under 12. And I want to talk about specifically how that's been a game changer for schools. So I have a school, we have a school in Haysboro, and as a result of making transit free for kids under 12, those kids took city bus to Canyon Meadows Pool for swim lessons, and so saved those families busing costs for that field trip, so only the teachers had to pay. So that was an incredible savings, and we're hearing that with other guiding groups, scout groups who are now, navigating our city using transit. And for families who do rely on transit, that was a savings of almost $80 a month per kid. That's really significant for those low-income families, and even if they're on a low-income scale, or even if you're not, $80 a month for your kid to ride transit monthly is pretty significant. And the second piece would be we secured funding from the provincial government based on some really strong data and evidence that seniors living multi-generationally should not have to qualify based on the income of the rest of their family, which meant that, a grandma didn't have to go ask her son-in-law for his T4 statement to qualify for low-income transit. She could qualify on her own. And it wasn't it wasn't a huge amount of money from the provincial government. It was $1.6 million, but the dignity that afforded those seniors was life-changing for them and those multi-generational families. And so that was really important and a really big win for us.
Okay, so one more question from me, and then we'll get you to wrap up. This one's a two sides of one coin. For those of you who are in a party, which is Alex, what's the most significant downside of your party approach? Those of you who are independent, you can answer this one, Court. Those of you who are independent, what is the most significant strength of the party approach?
Oh, yeah. So I would say probably the most significant strength of a party approach is just camaraderie. And while I, have that with other independent candidates, when I do see the Calgary Party show up, there is a little tinge of jealousy, and they all get to wear pink together and do fun. I love pink, which is, but the camaraderie, because this job can be very, very lonely, and at times and very isolating at times, and campaigning can be isolating. Lauren, who's my campaign manager, she ran also in 2021, and I ran as an independent in 2021, obviously, as well. There's just long, hard days, and so just having that riff would be something really, really nice. But I still stand firm and believe that there should be no party politics in municipal politics.
And I agree. Yeah, the camaraderie has been nice. The worst part about being in a party is, we will all get together and gossip about this whole thing afterwards. The worst part has been navigating something that's totally new, something that nobody asked for, including all of us in the Calgary Party, and trying to figure out, how does this work? Does this work? Do we like this? Well, we're doing it now, and thank goodness the party goes away after Election Day. I love all of my candidates. I love Brian. I think he's the best choice for mayor, but hopefully this is the only election with municipal parties.
I agree with that. I can see how, from an advertising or sort of getting the word out perspective, there's a great advantage to having a party, because then you do have you can have pool your resources and get some economies of scale, that kind of thing. But yeah, honestly, I don't like the idea of parties in municipal, or actually, ideally, there never would be parties in any level. In my mind, it's better if every person is elected to serve their constituencies and their constituents alone.
Yeah, I guess the advantage of being in a party is all the support that you get, some of the brainstorming ideas that you can maybe brainstorm ideas and come to concessions on some of the policies. It makes it easier maybe to work on certain topics just because you already know the person, you have a connection with them, you trust them, you understand where they're coming from to start with. But again, there's also depending on how the party structure is or how the culture of the party is there a diversity of thought on that party, right? So that's important too. So it really depends on the culture of the party as well, so I would say.
I'm going to have trouble answering this question because I like parties, I just don't like party politics.
Party. Okay, couple more minutes and we'll release you back in the wild. Take a couple minutes and reflect on the evening, please. And it says your opponents, others who've shared the mic with you tonight. Give us, after 4 successful years, one major accomplishment you contributed to that was worth celebrating. So this is thinking of the future. And the most important thing you want people to consider making their voting decision. So keep it to a couple minutes if you don't mind. Any and all of it.
I think going forward, it would be wonderful if we had community support and understanding for the importance of public education and the importance of having a school system as well. What grabs my heart about a school system is that I know that regardless of where a child whatever door they go through to attend school, that they have the opportunity to be successful when it's a school system because we've set the priorities and the expectations of what success looks like. What was the other?
Let's see, that was the most important thing. After a successful 4 years, you hit on that. Reflections on the evening and others here.
Thank you very much for coming. I understand there was a Blue Jays game. There's probably other things that you could probably be doing with your time, including getting children ready for bed. It's important to be engaged and it's important to be informed. And I hope and it's been an incredible honor and a privilege to be a representative for Wards 11 and 13 and to work with students. One of my favorite things is attending high school graduations. It just fills my heart with hope and of the future, and we're in good hands when it comes to our students. And I hope I can earn your vote to continue to be the representative for Wards 11 and 13 and to continue the good work that is being currently done in support of public education.
My vision for the next 4 years is I guess have an education system which empowers every student, provides opportunities to every student regardless of the background, the learning style, and that our schools have enough schools, the class sizes are manageable, and every student has the support basically, and the CBE becomes the best choice for parents. And for the evening, it's very different than I was expecting. But as Nancy said, thank you so much for coming. Thank you for giving us the opportunity, and thank you for your questions. I hope we were able to answer some of them. And yeah, thank you.
And I think in 4 years, I would consider myself very successful if I see that in that time, educational outcomes have improved. The students are really meeting success in whatever they choose to do as they start exiting school and entering the workforce, entering post-secondary, entering trades, wherever they may go. And as for this evening, I just want to thank everyone for coming, as everyone else has, and I also want to thank you, Keith. I've been to a few of these kind of things as a volunteer for other candidates in the past. This format is very different, and really, I really appreciate it. I feel like it gives people a better understanding of sort of what kind of people the various candidates are, as opposed to what the talking points are. And I really do hope that you've learned enough about the 5 candidates here that you'll see who's the best fit for your viewpoints.
Yeah, 4 years from now, I'd love to see us have a transit system that is getting consistent and systematized upgrades that just happen. I think a great city is one that we build intentionally, and so I appreciate everybody coming out here today and being thoughtful about their vote, being thoughtful about their city, their community, their neighborhood, and the future that we'd like to see. On the evening, I appreciate being able to sit up here with fellow candidates from the running for school board trustee as well. That's something that we don't think about as often. We were talking before, everybody thinks about the mayoral race and then they're like, oh yeah, I gotta vote for a candidate, and they're school board trustee, what do they do? And so I appreciate being able to learn from you guys and sit up here and have this engaging conversation. Thanks to Keith, Cheryl, the Acadia CA, for pulling this together and engaging people in local politics.
So I think, like, starting from an observation from the evening, there was great eye contact between us, with the public, between each other, and I think, you know, as we were each speaking, a lot of us sort of like nodding and thinking and like listening to like what each other were saying, and I think, you know, what resonated for me is, you know, forward thinking, future focused, and bringing a lot of heart and soul and passion for what it means to be a leader with what we are doing. So that is the first thing. I think the second thing that, you know, even though we were trying to share so much about ourselves, I think all acknowledge that we are dealing with very complex systems of growth and of change and of just beings, and that there is, you know, multiple paths forward, but as Keith said, everything is a choice, and so that we are making choices, and as I talked about, it's not 100% yes and it's not 100% no. There is always some shade of gray, and there is often so much compromise that happens in the decisions that we make every single day. And so that is the one thing I really want to reflect on, and I'm just going to give like one special I just want to say, like, so I am a parent with my kids in CBE, and both of my children lend to that classroom complexity, and so I have experienced it firsthand, and so I often reflect on the system that CBE is trying to work on, and the complexity of the number of humans that go to school, and then you magnify that into a city and the complexity of the number of humans that you are trying to serve as a city, and every decision feels hard and feels difficult. No decision ever feels very easy or comfortable. Some are better than others, but I think Nancy would probably echo it, and I think any of us in our respective roles have had to make those like difficult compromise things. And so I think I would hope that what the public takes away from this is it's not for any lack of care or respect or listening. It is just that there are times difficult decisions have to get made. And I think, you know, the teachers going out on strike, I can't think of a more difficult decision that someone would have to make right now.
And to you folks, top marks, you all focused and behaved?
There was a little fidgeting.
I'll let that pass. And you asked smart questions. I'm really sorry I can't go through every one unless you've got another 2 or 3 hours. Anyway, let's let the candidates get back. You can mingle, ask questions.